Good evening, all you wisdom walkers out there. So good to be with you again on this Sunday, a week after that incredible total lunar eclipse, what was it, blood wolf red total eclipse. It was really amazing. I was very, very blessed to get to see it out here in Santa Monica, and it was just awesome. It was just amazing. Reminded me of one that I experienced back in, I think it was 2003. I was in North Carolina at the time, but it was just totally amazing. So for you who are watching for the first time, my name is Jojopahmaria Nsoroma. I am a shamanic healer, wisdom counselor, spiritual healer, guide, soon to be a published author. And every Sunday I have been broadcasting across Blog Talk Radio through my company I'm associated with called Black Hole Radio. And about 3 weeks ago, a good friend of mine said, Jojopah, why don't you just do a YouTube live when you're doing the broadcast? And I was like, oh, I thought about that, but I'm not sure if I can coordinate everything, but I'll give it a shot. And so I did. And so now I'm doing YouTube at the same time that I'm broadcasting. So right now what's happening is that the intro music on Blog Talk is playing. And so that's why I'm got a minute to talk with you and do a little introduction about how I got to YouTube Live. So the show tonight is going to be the conclusion of a 4-part process that I've been doing all January, where the focus has been on your emerging self and what it is that we need to do to really begin this year and continue throughout the year with a focus for moving into that higher self, that self-mastery place that we all want to get to as humans. And so I've been talking about clarity, confidence, and courage. And tonight it all accumulates with getting to a next level of maturity. So I'll be talking about becoming mature. So my intro music is just about over. And when it stops, I'll do an official opening to the show. So you got about another good minute to stretch and, get something to drink if you need it. The show will be about an hour. Sometimes I go over a couple of minutes, but I try not to. I try to get everything in within an hour. And if you're watching this not live, if you're watching it after it has been uploaded, usually I spend about a good 20 minutes to a half an hour doing an opening. And so if you want to get at the meat of the program because of your time limitations, then I suggest that you do it at the halfway point, which would be something like 25 to 30 minutes into the video. So, but hopefully you can make time to listen to the whole thing, because I think every part of it is pretty important and I believe helpful. So my music just stopped and now I'm going to unmute and begin. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Wisdom Walk here on Black Hole Radio and also on the Wisdom Walk to Self-Mastery YouTube live channel. And I am your host and guide, Jojopahmaria Nsoroma. And a final happy new year, everyone. This is the last week of January. And I hope that this month has been very settling for you and has been a good opening for you for what is coming this year. Now, January is the first of 3 water months, according to the wisdom that I keep. And so in 2019, it promises to be a year of remembering and being on purpose, because 2019 is a mineral year. So as we set off on our next journey around the calendar, around the sun, clarity, confidence, and courage are our best companions. My theme for this month is and has been your emerging future. So tonight I present the fourth of four broadcasts that I've done in January, and I'll be sharing wisdom and insights on becoming mature, getting to a next level of maturity. For some of it, it will be a first level, but for many of us, it will be getting to a next level, what I call a higher consciousness level. So, for those of you who may be watching or listening in for the first time, let me give you a brief overview of this program. Wisdom Walk is a personal development resource for your mind, body, and soul. My ministry is any pain that is not transformed will be transferred. So, the essential goal of my shows is to support listeners and watchers with learning how to recognize and release any and all pain that is blocking your fulfillment in life, or what I like to call having your happy endings in life. Every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time or 5 p.m. Pacific, I broadcast live both through Blog Talk Radio and YouTube Live. And in addition to listening only through your computer or other gadgets that access the internet, you may listen to the live broadcast and or call into the show at this number. It's area code 563-999-3089. Again, 563-999-3089. Just a reminder that the web link I provide through my Facebook page for the Blog Talk broadcast, and my Facebook page is Wisdom Walk Radio, or you may get it in a constant contact email. That serves as an archive link. So if you're unable to listen live, you can listen later. But right now, I invite you to lay or sit back and join me for an exploration of the inner landscape, where we can connect to the soul and discover the true treasure of being human. Now, every week when I start, I always like to take a moment to acknowledge our ancestors, to call them in. Because, this work I'm doing is so not just about me. It benefits me, but it is for all of you listening and all of those who will be listening in. And so I think it's really important that I stay humble and open up to getting the right support that's required to make sure that what I'm doing is in alignment with what is needed. And also, I think in our Western culture, it's really important that we begin to reclaim an understanding and a practice of reaching out to our invisible guides and teachers, which I call the ancestors, because these are people who have walked the earth plane. These are the people whose shoulders we're standing upon, and we wouldn't be here without them. But most importantly, their souls, their spirits never die. It just goes into another dimension. And so they're always willing to be a support to us, because the last thing they want is to have us repeat those things that they've already done. They want to see learning going on. They want us to be wise. And so they want us to win. They want us to get to what they couldn't get to, or get beyond what they did get to. And so I think, and in my life and my experience, it's really important to have ancestral guides and supports to navigate through life and to not get thwarted by the beliefs, the negative belief systems, ideas, and situations that could really throw you off track or hold you back from being the best version of yourself. So tonight, because I am focusing on becoming mature, I thought it would be really important to think about those ancestors that you understood as mature people in your life. And maturity isn't just about age, as I'll continue to talk about. It really has more to do with who are the people that could be relied upon to get things done, to make sure that the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. The ones who were clear, the ones who were confident, the ones who were courageous and who made such a difference in your life. So think about those people. They can be family members or not. They don't have to be blood related. They can also be people from history, historical figures or celebrities that are no longer here. For example, two of my big ancestors are Louis Armstrong and Josephine Baker. And their stories, their level of maturity in life really, really resonates with me. And I just call on them, especially when I'm having to take some big risk. So hopefully you got that, the name, and you're seeing in your mind the face of those ancestors, because I'm going to do a little bit of an invocation here and call them up and thank them. Ancestors, 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 we are calling out to you and welcoming you to step up into our consciousness, to become a part of our journey to self-mastery as we open ourselves to learning better how to be mature, how to really hone the clarity, confidence, and courage required to be on purpose, to see it through, to accomplish that which we really came here to do. And so we need your help, your guidance, your love, your wisdom, your reminders, your way showing about this next level of maturity, maturity beyond age that we all need to get to as a species. And so I want to thank you, thank you, thank you for being willing to aid us, to assist us in this quest for becoming mature. And I ask and thank our Creator, our God, for this opportunity to call upon you. You're such great emissaries, such great bridges between our world and your world. And so we thank you, thank you, thank you in the name of all that is holy. Thank you, God. And I say amen. Ashe Ahoasa Shinko Bismillah. So it is. Ashe. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Time for a little bit of water. I switched up my place where I put the water and I was reaching and it wasn't there. It's like, yeah, Jojopah's behind you. Thank you for letting me indulge so I won't be coughing as I'm trying to share this information with you. I want to give now our elemental wisdom for the week and also a little follow-up in regards to that amazing, amazing full moon blood wolf lunar eclipse that occurred last Sunday. It was just fabulous. But the elemental wisdom for this week, and again, for those of you who may be listening in for the first time, elemental wisdom has to do with the ancient medicine wheel that I wisdom keep from the Dagara tribe of Burkina Faso in West Africa, which I learned from my two teachers, Malidoma and Sobonfu Some. And this medicine wheel is what they call a cosmogony. A cosmogony, it really is a guide to helping humans be able to better understand why they're here, what their gifts are, and how to get along. Because the medicine wheel teaches that there is a need for difference. It's a need for difference because we need all of this difference in order for there to be harmony, peace, joy, and love. See, as a species, we're really still getting to believing that, because we see difference. It's like, oh, it's time to fight. It's time to throw down. But in essence, cosmologically, the difference is there because it's needed. I mean, just look out into space. Look at some of the pictures from the and I'm forgetting what it's called. Oh, God, forgive me. But anyway, it's a big telescope that orbited around the Earth and got to look into the universe. It'll come back to me. It begins with an H, but I can't think of it. But anyway, this telescope gave us these incredible, beautiful pictures of how the universe works. And you get to see there's so much difference. Like there are no two galaxies alike. They're not shaped the same way. There's like billions and billions and billions of stars out there, planets out there. Right now, they haven't seen anything like planet Earth. They've seen things that are similar or that maybe could become or maybe were but no longer are. But there's no other the planet Earth. And so anyway, this just analogy to say that we really do need this difference. And that's what the medicine wheel teaches us, how to honor difference. The medicine wheel also is a wonderful way to grow our consciousness about how we are vibrational creatures, that we actually, are not just this physicality that we experience, that there is an energetic that is working in us, through us, around us, with us. And so the medicine wheel helps us as humans to have a little peek into that, a more consciousness about that. Because if we don't grow our consciousness about our existence, then we're just here to fight and scrap and scrape and be angry all the time and be hurt all the time, be a victim all the time. And when bad things happen, we just think that it's the worst thing and it's because we're bad or because somebody done did something to me. We lose sight of the fact of how the universe works, which is you're going to have your highs and your lows and you're in, you're out, and you're good, and you're bad. And it all has a purpose. So the medicine wheel helps us to remember that, to remember about purpose. So using the numbering of the medicine wheel that was translated for us here in the West, I look at the beginning of the week, the date that January 1st fell on, gives me my beginning of the week. So January 1st fell on a Tuesday this year. And so every Tuesday, I look at the number of that day, and that informs me about the energetics for that week. So for example, this Tuesday will be the 29th. So I look at the last number, which is the 9. Sometimes I look at the first number too, because this is a combination of fire and mineral, which is a really good thing because mineral always helps fire do good things. It doesn't let it run crazy. It kind of gives it some structure and some form so that fire can be useful and not get out of control. And so from this Tuesday, the 29th, through next Monday, which will be the 4th of February, we have a mineral week with a little fire thrown in. And so here's the opportunity from this energy for you this week. This is what you can become conscious about. It's about connecting with the souls of others, connecting with the souls of others. It's about unity consciousness, because that's what makes us human. It's about wanting to communicate at a deeper level, not just this superficial surface stuff, but deeper inside in terms of who you are, in terms of who somebody else is. We have the ability for compassion, understanding, forgiveness, and 4th and 5th dimensional relationships. A huge part of living on purpose is to be willing to transcend the shallow surface of what people present to you. See into their hearts and connect to their true essence. In this way, you must be deep and simple with your own self and connected to your own soul. This is what the Age of Illumination is all about. Use the healing energy of minerals, which are stones, crystals, bones, or shells, to illuminate your higher self and that of others. And 2 really good, easy to find crystals I highly recommend for those of you who really want to, amplify your ability to connect more deeply with yourself or others. One is selenite, which is Selenite, selenite, and the other is amethyst, Amethyst. Very easy to find. One is white and the other one's got purple in it, along with some quartz. And they're just really 2 good crystals to use, especially this week as a mineral week. Now, with every opportunity that shows up, there will always be a distraction. There will always be something to try to pull you off that focus. And so here are 5 distractions to be conscious of, because when you can be conscious of them, then they won't blindside you. It won't be one of your blind spots. You can be more aware. So here's what you want to watch out for. in a week when you're trying to connect with your soul and the soul of others. The first one is feeling sorry for people and taking on their pain. Yeah, really, really easy to do, really easy to slip into, especially because we think that that is the way to connect to people. Oh, I feel sorry for them. Oh, poor thing. Then I'm connecting. Not that kind of connection. That is called codependency, and it never, never, never has a fulfilling outcome. So, no feeling sorry. If somebody's going through something, that means that they've got the ability to get through it. So it's about really acknowledging them and their strength and helping them open up to learning what is the treasure in what they're going through, not seeing it as an opportunity for you to rescue. Stay away from that, doesn't help. Um, False obligations because you forget that you are worthy. So another way we connect to people is like, oh, I'm obligated because they did that for me, or they, told me this, or they loaned me that, whatever. So I got to go and do something for them. And, that's not always true, because sometimes what somebody can do for you, you may not be able to do back for them, and vice versa, and vice versa. So it's really important that if you are going to be a support to someone, you're doing it from a place of love and not fear. A third distraction is victim consciousness. You cannot connect to anything, and especially not yourself, if you are believing that you are a victim to life, if you're believing that the world is out to get you. So be really aware of that, really aware of that. We'll talk about that a little more in a minute. Anxiety and impatience, another distraction, another barrier to connecting with people's souls. Anxiety puts up a big wall. And yes, it is true that some people have anxiety that is a chemical imbalance going on inside of them, but all the more reason to do something about it. Don't believe that you have to live your life going from one anxious moment to the next. No, you don't have to do that. And then last but not least, gossip, judgments, and blaming. Again, three big distractions to connecting to yourself or to other people, because they're all so rooted in fear. And what I'm talking about in connecting with the souls of others is all about love. It's all about the love. So good luck with that. Stay open. And next Tuesday, the following Tuesday, not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday on February 5th, we'll begin an Earth Week, and I'll tell you about that in the next broadcast. Now, little astrological review, and I do have a little bit of information I want to share with you from Lena Stevens. But I was very, very fortunate to be able to see the eclipse here in Santa Monica, and it was just awesome. It was absolutely awesome. And it really stayed red and dark for a long time. I do want to say that last week when I gave out the timing for the eclipse, I was off in that I was giving you the time for when it actually would be covered up. I didn't give you what I thought I was giving you was when it really started to begin and you began to see it, get darker and darker and darker. So I apologize for that, but my the timing that I was given was just, I wasn't understanding. I was talking about when the eclipse was actually happening, or had happened, and you got to see it covered. But nonetheless, there are great pictures online if you were in a part of the country or the world where you could not view it. And I think it's worth it to look at those pictures, because it's quite phenomenal, as I talked about last week. It really is a phenomenon, and something to be awed. You need to be in awe about it. And then, energetically, spiritually, it really is bringing that message about something being eclipsed out of our lives and something being lined up inside of us internally, so that we can do more of our purpose, access more of the support we need, more of the information we need, connect to the people we need in loving ways. It's all of that. So stay tuned, really be in anticipation of seeing some things line up for you. Um, Knowing that something has been let go of, and want to be clear about that too, conscious about it. What got eclipsed for you. Now, Lena Stevens is another astrologer online that I really like. She has a website called thepowerpath.com, all one word. And she and her husband are shamanic healers, and she does monthly astrology forecasts in a little different way. And so I wanted to just share this wisdom that she presented. And her theme, she gives a monthly theme. Her theme for this month was about cleaning up, which is, of course, makes sense. If we start out with a new year, we need to clean up and make sure we can open up to the new things that are coming. So Lena says, we mentioned there is a new energy coming in. There is a higher vibration that can truly change everything if we make room for it. There is a great resistance from the ego and personality as they don't like change. Our minds cannot conceive of how something can be experienced differently until it is. Now, regarding the cleaning up and out to make room for the new energy, she says, discipline and boundaries are good allies this month, as it will take some focus and determination for the process of cleaning up. How true is that? You can resist it, postpone it, wish somebody else would do it for you, but ultimately it feels really good when you complete it, and you'll wonder what took so long. You have an opportunity to come out of this month with a 180-degree shift in your life, lighter, with more space to bring in what you truly want, an inspiring future. So there you have it. Right? Clean it up, clean it out, and open up to that new energy coming into your life. It's all so good and wonderful. Now, let me give you an overview of what I'm going to spend the next 33 minutes talking about. I'm going to do a quick review of the last 3 broadcasts, starting with, just for people who may be seeing this for the first time, talking about that emerging self as it relates to the Age of Illumination, and why clarity, confidence, and courage are the focus. And then I'm going to talk about becoming mature, getting to what I call higher consciousness maturity. And then, of course, I'll share a personal challenge. My quotes for this week came from first, Samuel Ullman, who was a poet and a writer in the 21st century. And he said, maturity is the ability to think, speak, and act your feelings within the bounds of dignity. Isn't that just a lovely word, dignity? I love that word. And it's something that is so important, something that as humans we should never lose. We should never think that there is something wrong with dignity, because it is dignity that enables us to really know that we can do better. See, if you have dignity, you know you can do better. If you don't have any dignity, then you think that, you're doing the best you can do and that's all you can do. But dignity it's just one of those really, really powerful words, It should never be old school. Never, never, never. We always need to have dignity. Now, the next quote, I put anonymous because when I look for an author, I couldn't find one, but it sounds like it came from somebody, But I put anonymous, and it says, maturity can begin to grow when you can sense your concern for others outweighing your concern for yourself. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So let me do the recap. The emerging self in the Age of Illumination. Age of Illumination started on December 21st, 2012. That was a 2012 shift. We were leaving one age of human evolution which was called the Piscean Age, or it was called the Third World, or sometimes it was called the Fourth World. Doesn't matter. It's just something that we went through and we done. It was like a 5,000 year process. So now we've stepped into this new age, into the fourth world, fifth world, into the age of Aquarius, just like the song said. And it is a time in human consciousness when we need to evolve to become masters of ourselves and to let go of believing that we have to stay victims to life. And this is just in a nutshell. It's a time when we're moving into choosing love over fear, consciously doing that. It's about taking the high road through life, the name of my next book. And it's also about knowing and living your purpose, really believing and experiencing that you matter, that you really are divine, that you're not a mistake, that you're here for a purpose, and that it is your job to live your life remembering what that is, to want to know your purpose so that you can act on it, so that you can be in alignment with that kind of energy. It's just so amazing. I then talked about how the year 2018 was very much a nature year, which is all about change, and the cycles of change, like death and rebirth. So it was some radical change going on. And I talked about that last year. This time I said 2018 is about radical endings, radical beginnings, and magical change, magical change. And it was like that for me, just right out of the box, right out of the box. I had this amazing, amazing change. Some extremely painful. It was a tragedy in my family. But we're moving through it, and we continue to work on it, and we continue to believe that there's treasure in it. We're not staying victimized by it. We're not letting each other stay victimized by it. We're opening up to that. And so that was 2018. And so when you go through that kind of a year, especially it was a nature year, we've come out of it moving into a mineral year where we can have greater access to our clarity, our confidence, and our courage. Yeah. And it's important to have a working consciousness about this so that you're not using 2019 to think that you've got to create that. No, you already have it. It's been gifted to you for surviving 2018. So now it's time to put it to use. It's time to put your clarity, your confidence, and your courage to good use. And to me, that means that we're going to a next level of maturity. I talked about clarity versus confusion, and said historically how as humans we believe that only certain people, a very small number of people, could have a level of clarity about life and about what really is happening. And now we're at a point where, thanks to Google and the internet, and just the spread of education, a printing press have made a big, big, big shift in human evolution, because it created books and people could get access to things that only a small number of people before could get access to. And so now you don't have to stay in confusion. You can get the clarity that you need about who you are, where you're going, why you want to go there, what's going on over here, what's going on under there. In other words, you don't have to walk around confused. And that's important because when we move through confusion to get to our clarity, then we start to develop a confidence. Because if I thought one thing and that was like a barrier to my existence, and then I get clear that it's not really a barrier, it just was presented that way, but it's not the truth, then I'm going to have some confidence that I can move forward, And people have done this throughout history. This is really nothing new, okay? What is new is that there are going to be multitudes of people doing this, Okay, multitudes of people getting access to their clarity, and then getting that confidence, having more confidence. I talked about in the next week about courage. Excuse me, about confidence versus doubt. And I talked about how easy it is for us to have faith in what is not good, what is negative, what is fear, what is wrong, what is bad, that things won't work out for me. It's so easy for us to go there rather than having a faith that no, I may get a setback or I may come across some challenge, but ultimately I am going to reach my destination. That's why fairy tales are so important for children, because fairy tales always have the right ending. Somebody starts off, they got some trouble, they get some help, they get through their trouble, and then they're in a whole different place. They've been stretched and grown, they've been transformed, and they're good. And they're good. They made it through. Now they're ready for a next challenge, But it's, this is a cycle of growth and evolution throughout human history, throughout, I believe, the existence of the universe. So it's really important for us to remember that and to know that that's not made up, that's the truth. The unhappy endings are not the end. It's still the process going on, because even the happy endings aren't the end. You can have more happy endings, but you do got to go through something in order to get to that. That's just how it works. And so when we can realize that, then when we can understand that doubting is a choice, just like confusion is a choice, that we can have faith in, I'm going to make it, it's going to be okay. And that's the confidence piece. And again, nothing new. People have done this against incredible odds. Just think about Nelson Mandela. So people have flipped from doubt into confidence in situations that you're like, how could they do that? And they did it. So the difference is that, again, multitudes of people are going to be going through this. And so it will make a big difference on all of our psyche and how we're thinking. And then last week I talked about courage versus cowardice. And the word coward comes from the Latin cauda, and the French it was called couard, and it's about tail. It was a tail of an animal. And so it's that animal that's shaking like a dog with its tail between its legs, afraid, can't move. And that's what cowardice is. It's us being stuck. Courage, and which we have to call on, is an energetic to help us get unstuck. And courage isn't about we're not afraid. You can have fear, but courage is that strong heart, having a strong heart that enables you to move through the fear, that you don't stay stuck in the cowardice. So I then talked about courage of being your authentic self, because that's really what it's about. I'm not talking about the courage to go out and fight somebody and, beat somebody up or, whatever. I'm talking about the courage to be your authentic self, because when you have your clarity and your confidence, that's what you're heading toward. You want to be the truth of who you are. And I said that means that you are able to let go of wanting to or trying to be liked by people, to be loved, to be paid, to be felt sorry for, to be in control of or over someone or something other than yourself, to be approved of by those who don't have the capacity to do that for you. So in other words, not being in your power. When you're not authentic, you're not in your power. You are giving your power over to someone or something else. Now, that is a juvenile behavior. That's what children have to do because they're still learning, except for those 2-year-olds. Something about a 2-year-old where they're just like, oh, I am so clear. I am so clear. No, I don't want that. I'm not doing that. No, I can do it myself. They're really clear. And then something happens. They forget all of that, especially when they get teenagers. but it's part of the developmental process. But for most children, they've got to go through this process of trying to get someone to like them, to love them, to hear them, to see them. They go through that period of questioning, of doubt. And as we move into maturity, we want to be done with that. We don't want to have any doubt about who we are, what we are, whether we're liked, whether we're loved. We want to be through all of that. And that's what being authentic enables us to do, because it's about being self-actualized. It's about loving yourself unconditionally. I said being authentic is trusting in a greater order and direction more than the negativity in your life, more than the anxiety and the doubts, but to really believe that there is something bigger, incomprehensible, a mystery that is existing to work on your behalf, despite whatever situation you may be in. Yeah. And this is not an easy thing, especially if your young life starts out with a lot of disappointment, with a lot of neglect, with a lot of disappointment, betrayal by those who were supposed to be taking care of you. I understand that it's really, really hard to think the world is out to gift me, because it's been getting me, since I can remember. But the truth is, people who go through those experiences are really, really big souls, right? This is not their first time at the rodeo. It's not like they just dropped in as a newbie. No, these are people who have gone around the sun many, many, many lifetimes. And their soul is wanting to learn about unconditional love. Like, if I go through all of this, can I still learn to love myself? Can I still learn to love others? Can I still learn to love my God? It's a big, big souls that do that. Yeah, just not little baby souls. So I also talked about temptations to not be courageous, that it was all about the fear. And that's when I was talking about the confusion versus clarity, the doubt versus confidence, and the cowardice versus courage. So those fear things will keep you from being authentic. So we need the clarity, the confidence, and the courage so that we can be our authentic selves. And now, what I'm going to talk about tonight, step into our maturity and what that means. So let me redefine maturity away from just the social norm of I'm old enough to have a job, to have a home, to make a baby, to have a car, to go to college, to pay my taxes, to raise children, take care of my parents, all of that stuff. And socially, familially, we say if a person's doing those things that they are mature. And yes, that is a level of maturity, because that's something that children can't easily do. That's a level of maturity to do all of those things. But the maturity I am talking about, this next level, because once you can do all of that, there's still something more to do. And that something more is this willingness and a commitment to learn how to always choose love over fear. See, maturity isn't just about age, but about beliefs and behaviors that support that choosing of love over fear. The word maturity in our adolescent fueled culture is not a word that we really like. It's got kind of a bad connotation, because within that word is like an absence of fun. Maturity seems to be all about rules and regulations and discipline and, time schedules and, responsibilities, right? But it's not that it's an absence of fun. It's not that it's an absence of pleasure. It is that you don't have fun or you don't take pleasure at somebody else's expense. or out of consideration of others. Yeah. That's the level of maturity I'm talking about. Where, yes, you can do this and this and that, and you're a grown up person, but are you choosing love over fear? Are you willing to learn how to do that on a daily basis? Are you committed to that? Or have you taken a vow to do that? And that's the level of maturity I'm talking about. This is what self mastery is. It's essentially talking about self mastery. Now, for those of you who may question, like, why do we need that level of maturity? If I'm already mature, why do I want to go to that level? So I'm going to give you a few big examples that we can just look around easily and see in our culture today. One is politics. Okay. Here in the United States, to have the government shut down for almost a full month, and there being so many things that federal employees do to keep the populace safe, to keep things moving, to make sure that people can eat, that they can sleep, that the airplanes aren't crashing into each other, to have that happen for this length of time, that spells so much to me that we are dealing with some people who are in positions of power who have not reached that level of maturity that I'm talking about, that higher consciousness maturity. Politics has become more about profit and making profit, maneuvering so that there is a profit made versus the welfare of human beings. So the adolescent in politics is that it's always going to be focused on what's going to make money and profit. So, let's, rape the national parks and, mess up the waters and, drill for oil, even though we know that petroleum kills people and, is messing up the ozone, whatever. We know that global warming is real. But to continue to do things and create policies that disregard that, see, that's an adolescent behavior. That's a juvenile behavior. It's even lower than adolescent. And it takes a level of this higher conscious maturity to not do that. So that's why we need to talk about this and think about this. Overeating, the overeating that, and I'll add to that, the overconsuming of our culture and what impact it has on, people in other countries and on the earth. There are people working in sweatshops in China so that we can have fashion sneakers and fashion clothes here in the United States. That's a problem. That's a real problem. There's also, so many health issues that come out of the overeating that goes on. And, just another example of the impact that our adolescent behavior has. It's predicted now that within another, I think, 10 to 25 years, there's going to be more plastic in the oceans than there are fish. Yeah, it's real. It's real. And, the plastic conglomerates are taking measures to figure out how do we reduce that? How do we do something different, and not create that kind of waste? The othering that happens in our culture and around the world, meaning that, we've got racial divide, we've got gender divide, we've got educational divide, we've got social divide, got economic divide, we've got physical ability divide, on and on and on. Again, that is a juvenile adolescent behavior, a fear that something different, is going to get me. It is not that higher level of maturity that's required to be in a multi-diverse dimensional existence. Yeah. And then last but not least, we're living in a time where people are really believing that victim consciousness is their birthright. A lot of that has to do with the amount of abuse, physical, sexual, emotional, psychological, that goes on in all of our institutions, whether that is a family, whether it is a religion, whether it is an educational place. Let me not talk about the criminal justice system. We have so much incidences of abuse that go on unchecked, that being a victim seems to be what you have to be. And when I bring it up a lot of times, the people I work with, and I point it out to them, they have a resistance at first. And that's because, and I understand it because I did too. When I started doing my work, I had a resistance. And that's because, we get comfortable with it. We get comfortable in that victim consciousness. Well, that's not being mature. It's not being mature. That's being juvenile and adolescent. Because the reality is, if you believe you're a victim, then you'll stay a victim. But if you choose to believe that, wait a minute, I'm not a victim, so how do I perceive this situation in a different way? How do I get beyond, the initial reaction of I'm a victim? How do I grow and heal beyond that? And it takes a level of consciousness and belief, ideas, faith, and maturity to shift that up. So let me talk now about some of the aspects of higher consciousness maturity, just to give you an understanding of more of what I'm talking about. So what does that look like? Because I talked about why we need it. So let's look at what it looks like, because all those things I talked about, the 5 things I talked about previously, which are problems in this world. We want to get to these aspects so that we can shift that around. Children working in Africa in cobalt mines instead of being in school and being educated and loved on and, really appreciated and supported just for being children, but to be used as laborers in a cobalt mine. And cobalt is a metal that is used in the new kind of batteries in our cell phones, in the cars, So, the fact that that is going on, again, there's a level of adolescent behavior and thinking on the part of people running these companies that would have that happen, as if there's no other way. It's like, no. So we need that other level. And the other example is, kids coming in as refugees from Central and South America and being put in cages. Who does that? Oh, well, somebody who is not at a higher level of maturity. Someone who is not able to choose love over fear. So here are the aspects of a higher consciousness maturity. You are able to experience a deep soul connection with yourself and others. And then to do that with yourself, that means you have had to have spent time alone with yourself and looked at yourself and contemplated your mess, not made it be about somebody else, not tried to ignore it or sedate it, but that you actually took on, and definitely would help. A lot of times you can't do this on your own. You need help, but you're willing to really look at what is not in alignment with my truth as a mature, higher consciousness, self-mastered human being. Okay. And we need to look at that. When you do that and you start to shift out of it, because you got to make decisions, then you will start to connect to your soul. You'll start to get to what is really you, what's really inside of you. And once you can do that, then you can do that with other people. Guaranteed. And again, that's higher consciousness maturity. I'm willing to take on my shadow aspects and to shift them, to get out of them. To be willing to answer the call to your higher purpose. We all have a higher purpose. We're here for something. And we can find that out. We can learn that. We do not have to stay working in a job or working or living in a situation where every day we're complaining, where we're getting up and we're just so miserable because of our life and our situation. We don't have to stay like that. We can open up to learning what our purpose is and figuring it out. And again, with help. An expanded capacity for vulnerability and wholeheartedness. That is higher consciousness maturity. And I often talk about the Brene Brown video. If you've not seen it, go Google it on YouTube. You can find it, Brene Brown, where she talks about, vulnerability and what that really means, because she relates it to wholeheartedness. So if you can't, again, open up and be soft, open up to have a change of mind, a change of heart, then you can't be really wholehearted. And wholeheartedness is, for example, you're willing to say, I love you first, because it doesn't matter if the person loves you back or not. It's that you just need to be expressed about how you're feeling. And you're not trying to manipulate. You just need to express it to let them know. You take that risk. And if they don't love you back, you don't get mad at them and you don't say, I don't really like them. No, you just say, wow, I've got what a learning here, because I love someone who's not able to love me, but that doesn't mean I'm unlovable. It's that kind of work. Vulnerability is just really powerful. Again, that's a higher level of maturity. Maintaining and working your relationship with a greater order and direction, and whatever other light beings, angels, ancestors are associated with that. That is definitely a higher level of maturity, because what you're doing is you're saying, yeah, I may be really smart. I may have 3 PhDs, but I'm not God and I don't know everything. And I need to know that I have to keep learning. I have to keep learning, because there's so many different aspects to myself. There's an emotional aspect, there's an intellectual aspect, but there's also the spiritual aspect. And I need to work on all of it, not just one part of it. I need to work on all of it. Higher level of maturity. And then last but not least, this is an aspect that is just so, so, so important, especially for the times we're living in. This is a willingness to choose to high road it through life, to take the high road. My best example of that is Barack Obama, when he is just being, badgered and thwarted and harassed and, called racial epithets, that the press didn't report, but it was happening. And to be in that situation, and to not turn into the angry man who's yelling and having tantrums and throwing things around and taking revenge and all of that, but really maintaining his cool. He was taking the high road. And Michelle Obama, in her new book, she talks about that, about him, because there were times Michelle wanted to take the low road. Michelle's like, I come from the south side of Chicago, and let me tell you how we took care of it here. But Barack was like, nope, we're not doing that. We're not we're not gonna drop ourselves down to a level that we're not at just because somebody else is there. We're gonna take the high road. And, it's a wonderful, wonderful learning and teaching for all of us that in our lives, it gets back to the Christian Jesus story about turning the other cheek and what that really means. But it is about taking that high road, making a decision to not react to what someone does to you that is negative, that is inappropriate, to not react to that, but to respond to it from a place of your strength, your power, dignity. Remember that word from the beginning? There it is again, dignity. So, so, so important. Oh my goodness. And I'm looking at the time. I apologize. I'm going over a little bit, but I do have one more important point I need to make, and I'll probably go for another 7 minutes. That's that'll be tops. But I do need to make this point because really 2 points. I got two of them. Here's one that's really important. The first one, when you take on getting to those aspects of a higher conscious maturity that I just laid out, you will be given support in ways and means that you could never imagine. It will shock you, it will surprise you at how much support you will receive for all of those aspects, for connecting to people's souls, for answering the call to your higher purpose, to being vulnerable and wholehearted, to maintaining a working relationship with your greater order and direction, and to choosing that high road through life. You will be supported. I promise you. I promise you. And real support, not support that ain't real, that's superficial. No, I'm talking about real support, support that you were like, do I really deserve this? Like, wow, seriously, seriously. But you got to make that decision to go to that next level of higher consciousness maturity. The other important thing in this, I do want to tell you about the journey to this next level of maturity, because this is self-mastery. This is a wisdom walk. It is messy. And I'm going to use the analogy of a house renovation, okay? So you're in your house, you're mature, right? In the ways that I first talked about, like you got your car, you got your business, you take your Disneyland vacations, whatever. You good, right? I'm a mature person. I got it going on, right? But you know that choosing love over fear has come up, and you weren't able to choose the love. You shot back down to the fear, whether it was in the family, whether it was in a job, whether it was in a relationship. You know this. And so now you're like, okay, it's time to do some renovation. I got to do some renovation here, right? Okay. When you renovate, right, it's not like you're getting rid of the house. You're not destroying it and starting up again. That's a rebuild. We're not talking about that. We're talking about renovation. There's something that I want to make some improvement, okay? So maybe it's your kitchen, right? Maybe it's the bathroom. Whatever it is, what exists right now has to get taken out. Got to get broke up, and it's got to get taken out. And there's going to be a mess. There is going to be a mess. So get ready for it. But it's a good mess, because you'll look at it and say, oh, wow, this is messy, this is painful. But you know that in the end, it is going to render something wonderful, something better. If you've done renovation on your home or in an apartment, or people that have, that people always go through a point where they just have a breakdown because they can't take the mess. It's like, it's too much. I can't, everything's out of order. I can't, I just got to go to a hotel for a week or go stay with somebody else, whatever, to get away from it. But when they come back and it's all done, it's like, oh my God, oh, this is so wonderful. Oh my God, I'm so glad I went through this, and that's how you'll be in getting to this next level of maturity. So here is the personal challenge for this week. I want you to really think about and identify what aspects of your life need renovating. And I want you to look at your family, your personal life, your relationships, your intimate relationships. I want you to look at your job situation. I want you to look at your social circles. Look at your life. Where is there a need for renovation? Where is it that you have been choosing or are more likely to choose fear over love? Okay. Look at that. Next, I want you to write it down on a piece of paper and place it on your altar for 3 days. I know you got an altar. If you don't, start one. It's very simple. You just need a piece of cloth and a candle that matches it. And you can use the 5 colors of the medicine wheel, which are red, blue, yellow, white, and green. So, and You can look it up online now. There's definitely dagger information online. I even did a video about it that you can find. Um, and you can find out what your elemental number is. And then make an altar according to that if you don't already have one. And put down on this altar with the candle lit this piece of paper, put it up under the cloth. And what you're doing is you're calling in the help you need, the invisible help you need to take on the journey to renovate. Okay, because we can't do this alone. It's just like you can't renovate your house all on your own. You're going to have to call an electrician or a plumber. Somebody got to come and help. Okay, so this is the same thing. We can't do it alone. Now you're going to do it for 3 days, and on the 4th day, you're going to burn it in a sacred manner, which means that you call up your ancestors, you call up your God, your angels, and you say, "Help me, help me, help me." And when you are burning that, what's happening is you are receiving the energetic for the transformation that you are going to make in the right ways and in the right time. Okay. So this is a faith gesture to this higher level of emotional and physical and intellectual and spiritual maturity, your higher self maturity. And then when you're done with the burning, of course, you're going to show and say gratitude by doing something loving and nurturing for yourself. Yes, absolutely wonderful. And I will write this in the comments below. I mean, in a box below, with a little arrow that'll be to the right corner of this screen. And you just click on that. And underneath, I'll have information about, overview personal challenge this week, I promise. So now, and I'm going over my 7. I'm right now at 6:07. So just 2 more minutes to close out, which is I want to thank my one to make sure that my blog talk broadcast was okay, and that I am broadcasting. So thank you, Mathia, and to the entire Black Hole Radio Be Well family. Thank you again for all of your support so I can do this every week. Also want to shout out to my regular listeners, to Miss Sarah, my #1 fan, who I am so grateful for all of the support that she renders me. It's just amazing. To all of those who have wisdom walk with me, and you know who you are, to my family and spiritual kin, to my transformational leadership colleagues, to my medicine brothers and sisters around the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And to those who are listening in for the first time as well, thank you. For all of you, I couldn't do this without you listening and watching. Next week, I'll begin 4 broadcasts for the fire month of February. I'm a fire person, so I get happy when the fire month comes. And I'll use its many events to help you maintain your journey to self-mastery. So we'll be talking about Mardi Gras and Groundhog Day and Black History Month and Chinese New Year and Abraham Lincoln's birthday, and I'll roll it all in together and show you how you use that to stay on your journey. Again, check out my Facebook page, Wisdom Walk Radio. My YouTube channel is Wisdom Walk to Self-Mastery. And last but not least, I would like to thank my God, my ancestors, my spirit guides, my loving entities, everything that walks with me, keeps my feet to the ground, my head to the sky, and my heart open to do this work with and for all of you. Have a fabulous mineral week. And please remember, you are not disposable. You are divine. Good night now.